You see that? This is a citizen's rule book. Everybody should have one. We're about to read Article 4. You see that? Article 4 right here. Not trying to talk down to you folks. You should know your rights. Most of you don't. Sandy Smith, unfortunately, didn't. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Fourth Amendment, your Bill of Rights. And no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, that's your Bill of Rights from your Constitution. Let's get a close shot of that for people right here. Now, the story we're about to get to is the disgusting case of Sandy Smith, who lives out in Spicewood Springs, Texas, known to be famous because of Willie Nelson living out there. She lived there for 30 years. Her husband died a few years ago. She's a widower. And there hadn't been any problems until about a year ago, when complaints started getting filed on her by the local homeowners association, according to Mrs. Smith. 13 times the health department from Austin was called out there, complaining about her septic tank. There's no one even around her. They checked it. The septic tank was kosher, in perfectly working order. She was left alone. Then suddenly, the homeowner association was telling her she was using too much water. And she said, well, wait, I barely use any water. What is this? I pay for my water. There's not a water shortage. There's million-dollar homes being built all around me. You guys have got swimming pools. Then she tried to call him out to drill a well on her land. She was tired of the harassment. The guy who wanted to drill the well said, I'm sorry, I'm not getting involved in this, after he'd agreed to drill it. She's a really nice old lady. What was the problem? Then a couple days later, a couple weeks ago, they were raided, first by a black helicopter, military. We've called around our sources and found out, over her land, about 100 feet over her house, terrorizing them. And then instantly, as it peeled away and disappeared, about 15 to 20 different officers jumped out in Rambo outfits, black uniforms, camo uniforms, regular Army, Travis County SWAT team, aimed guns at their heads, 5 machine guns total on one man, one of the renters that lives in one of the small homes there on the property. And then they ran behind the house a minute into the raid, found out that the commonly growing weed that we're about to show you, that's all over Central Texas and the country for that matter, was not indeed marijuana. Did they stop there? Did they apologize for coming on her property in violation of the Fourth Amendment? There's only 10 of them. They're the supreme law of the land. It's called treason to violate them. Did they apologize? Did they leave? No. They began to be rude. They didn't leave the property. They went further to search the 3 homes that are on the 3 acres. And then they left. And she was humiliated, Sandy Smith, in front of all her neighbors, people in the community. The local newspaper, the Chronicle, came out and interviewed him and actually did a fair story and said, look, on page 20, you didn't have a warrant. This weed is as common as dirt or fire ants in Texas. I called one of my friends up who lives out in the country. And I said, I want to come over to your house and see if you've got this weed growing in your backyard. He lives on a couple acres. It's growing everywhere, along every fence, in the creek bed, by his garage. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Is this growing in your yard? Are you going to get a SWAT team raid with no warrant? They don't care about breaking the law. It's criminal activity. We're going to expose it. And this stupid weed that is just as common as fire ants or dirt in Texas. My goodness, we walked about 5 feet. Mike, pan back to that other little area of bushes over there. We walk over here about 15 feet. Look what we find. Marijuana. Marijuana, right here where the children can smoke it. As they swing, it's for the children. They can just roll up a joint and smoke it. Look at that devil weed growing everywhere. We're going to take your property. We're going to seize your property because a common weed was growing on it. Gotta stop the drugs. Maybe double the cocaine and triple the heroin are flowing in the last 10 years since the drug war really got expanded. But who cares if our rights are being destroyed and more drugs are coming in, the government ships them in? It feels good, doesn't it? We're gonna raid your house over a common weed. Look over there, let's continue. Pure weeds. I just called my friend up who lives in Travis County and said, can we come out to your place and see if this weed's growing? He said, sure, I don't know if it's growing. Ladies and gentlemen, behind your gas stations, on the side of the road, it's everywhere. Are you gonna get a SWAT team raid tomorrow? And even after they knew that it was a common weed, they still searched the homes without a warrant. They could care less even when they knew. It is disgusting Nazi behavior. Who's safe when this is growing everywhere and they've got a pretext to bust into your house and ransack your home? You got a problem out there. You're criminal gang members, and we're gonna expose you. Look at it, it's just growing everywhere. Look out there, Mike.
Oh, it's everywhere, Alex.
Well, we just showed you all this growing. 15 feet from the swing set, that's 15 feet from more of the weeds. Look right here, huge marijuana plants. The helicopters are about to attack any second. Let's get over there. Is your property safe? No, because we don't need warrants anymore. It may be illegal, it may violate the Fourth Amendment, but who cares? This is Nazi New World Order America. Devil weed. It's everywhere. Hand over your property. Man, this is incredible. There's more of it, look. Come. SWAT teams will be hitting this home within the hour.
Okay, I'm Sandy Smith, and it was my day off from work. I was standing out by my van, and anyway, this helicopter started circling right above my place, and I didn't know, what was going on. And one of my neighbors called me. See, I have my little phone, I was carrying around. One of my neighbors called and said, Sandy, they're taking pictures of your place. And I said, oh my God. I said, this guy over here next to me, he's been suing me for the past year. And, he's called like the health inspectors on me 13 times. And I said, oh my God. I said, he's taking pictures of my place. He's going to use it against me in court. So I called Sybil. She's been helping me, and this guy has been paying her to help me because I don't have very much money.
She's your lawyer?
Yes, she's my lawyer, and he's been paying her to, defend me against this guy over here. Okay, so I tried to call her, and she was gone. So she wasn't there, so I called this gentleman that's been, paying her to help me. And he said, and I said, this helicopter is circling. I said, they're taking pictures to use against me in court. And I said, what can I do about it? I said, it's just scaring me to death. And he said, that guy wouldn't spend that kind of money to hire a helicopter to take pictures to use against you in a lawsuit. He's not going to spend that kind of money. He said, this has got to be something else. And then Dave came out and he said, this is like Vietnam. Okay, and then then all of a sudden it was just like hell broke loose. There was cars, there was vans, there was this woman jumped out of this vehicle. I was standing over there behind my van talking to this guy on the phone, and she said, throw that phone down, spread out on this van. And I mean, I was just, it just terrified me. I mean, I did that, and I leaned against my van, and she had this gun on me, and I didn't know what I had done. I said, what is going on? And then after this happened, she made me stand out there in the hot sun for a few minutes. And then Wayne, this guy here, he was, we was putting some dirt around and stuff on my flower beds. And he come up wheeling a wheelbarrow, and they grabbed him. And these guys were just swarming all over the place. These guys had arms like tree trunks. They had tattoos all over them. And anyway, he came wheeling up this wheelbarrow of dirt. And when he did, they grabbed him, throwed him down right here. And then Dave, he had come out of the house. They grabbed him and throwed him down here. And then the other guy that has this little house over here, he was fixing to go to work at 3 o'clock. He was taking a nap. They banged on his door, and then when he come to the door, they grabbed him. He had 5 M16s in his face. They dragged him out of the house, brought him over here, and throwed him over there. Okay, and then finally, she let me, that woman said, okay, well, and they were just all over the place. And finally, this woman come over here, and she said, I'll go ahead and let you sit over there by them. So she let me sit right here. So I was sitting right here. I asked Dave, I said, Dave, can I have a drink of Coke or something? So he got up to hand me my Coke. And she said, you sit back down or you will be handcuffed. And I said, well, I said, I was just wanting to get a drink of Coke. And so anyway, then she called one of the big guys over. She said, I want this man handcuffed. He is a menace to my safety. And there's 7 guys out here with M16s. How could he be a menace to her safety? But I mean, she was really being a bitch. The men were nice.
Were they pointing their guns at you?
Oh yeah, she pointed a gun at me. They were pointing guns at all of us. Okay, so anyway.
How many people total would you say were out here?
Oh, at least 15 or 20. And
going back to the helicopter, how this all started, then I want to go through the raid.
Okay.
Mrs. Smith, how high off the ground was the helicopter?
Oh, it was very low. I mean, it was right over the top of the building. You could hear it just circling and circling. And
so you'd say it was about 30 feet above those trees?
It was real low because all the neighbors noticed, and it was making a lot of noise.
What color was it?
I thought it was black.
The police in the Chronicle implied that they got some report of this here in the surveillance tattletale society. Do you think it was some, quote, do-gooder neighbors that saw some weeds in your backyard and called?
Well, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. But the thing about it was the helicopter did not spot anything because everybody told me they were down at RO's barbecue before this ever started, before the helicopter ever came over. They stopped in the parking lot of those 2 little cafes. They were out there suiting up before they ever came down here, and they said, we got a big drug bust going on. They told everybody that. Now,
it seems if the police were really worried about their safety, they wouldn't send the helicopter first to fly around for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like they were trying to terrorize us, is the way it seemed to me, like it was some kind of message thing or something. Then after they left, we were so upset because we saw they'd been through all our houses while they was out here. We were at gunpoint. We had no choice. And they came through the back of all our houses because they were all open. It's just country out here.
Without a warrant?
Without a warrant. They never said anything at any time about a warrant. And it's not like the sheriffs don't know me. I've worked at this store for 15 years. I know all the sheriffs. And, they could come to me and ask me anything at any time. They'd say, Sandy, somebody said you had some weird-looking weeds behind your house. Can we take a look? I'd say, sure, I don't care. They've been here 3 years, but you can have them. The last traffic ticket I had was 20 years ago. And I don't even smoke cigarettes, much less marijuana.
And how long have you lived here?
I've lived here 30 years.
And ever any problems?
No. Then after they had left, we were so upset because they had taken my friend's BB guns, laid them on the chair with them cocked. Okay, they knocked down a painting on my bedroom. And they also, let's see, oh yeah, what else did they do? Okay, over here in this other little house, and he was going to work. His kids were in school, thank God, because it was like 2:30 in the afternoon. And they knocked down the curtains in his house, plus they opened all the drawers, and there was like a little tin can or something with some toys in it. They had opened that. And, but what really upset me the most was everybody was telling everybody all around here, said, well, they busted Sandy, and she had 5 marijuana plants, and they spread eagled her on the ground with handcuffs behind her. And I've been out here for 30 years. I mean, this totally destroys my reputation. I mean, it makes me look like some kind of criminal. That's why I would like a public apology about this. It has put so much stress on me that I'm going to have to go to the doctor and get something for my nerves. I can't even sleep good anymore thinking about it. And at work sometimes I just almost cry thinking about it. And everybody's talking about it. I mean, it's just really put a strain on my life. Because, I always thought this was my homestead. I thought I was safe here. But it just didn't work out that way.
So you and your late husband moved out here 30 years ago to get away from the big city. Mm-hmm. Are you saying this is, talk about that and what this has done to your serenity, your quality of life?
Yeah, well, my husband was a musician. He had in a way I feel like he's trying to help me because he had a record in the 72 called I'm a Little Man. And it was a #1 hit on all 3 stations in Houston. And when we came here and we saw this place, it was just raw land. And we looked all over Texas looking for a place to buy, and we saw this place, and he said, this is the place I want to be. And we lived here for 30 years. He's been dead now, 8 years. But I tell you what, he would roll over in his grave if he'd seen all this stuff that's happened to me. I think it's all these people moving out here. We never had this problem until all of a sudden now they want a homeowners association, and They're telling people out here, I mean, why don't they go to Austin where they say there's crack houses, deserted houses? But out here, I mean, you know, we're just poor people just trying to survive, and everybody knew that this was just for mobile homes.
Well, you know, houses are going for over $1 million to $10 million around here.
Well, if somebody wants to give me $10 million to this place, I'll move.
Do you, have folks been trying to get you to sell the property?
Well, what we figured is why this guy over here is harassing me so much is because he owns all this land back in here. He's the biggest property owner. Plus, he owns the lot right below me. And, you know, it's like 2 and 3 acre tracts. So he's always hated it because I had this corner lot. And if he had this corner lot, then he figures he can, you know, have the whole shebang. That's what I figure he's trying to put in some development. So he's trying to intimidate me so bad and scare me so bad because he asked, like in this lawsuit, for $65,000. So he figured that would scare me so bad, I would just give him, you know, I would just give him my place or something.
Now, he's called the health department on you, you say 13 times?
13 times, yes.
3 seconds after the SWAT team arrived, they had identified the fact that this was not marijuana. But they continued their raid for an estimated 30 to 40 minutes, ransacking all 3 of the homes that are in this general vicinity, not just the one where this was found.
So they knew it wasn't marijuana right when they showed up. Now they had to find something inside.
They went right straight to it. Within 30 seconds after the arrival of an estimated 12 to 15 officers in approximately 7 or 8 vehicles plus dirt bikes, they knew that this was not marijuana because they went directly to it, and yet they stayed here another 30 to 40 minutes, holding the individuals at gunpoint, rousting one from his home at gunpoint with 5 guns in his face, and they searched all 3 of the homes, not just the one nearest their suspected marijuana. Well, I believe that they might have just been stupid to think this was marijuana, but they should have left after the first 30 or 40 seconds with an apology, but instead of that, they did violently illegal things to the home of Mrs. Smith and her friends.
So they showed up, they ransacked the homes, but before even that happened, before 30 seconds on the property, they knew this wasn't marijuana, but they were trying to find something. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And
were they trying to have a pretext, an excuse for what they did?
Apparently, we speculate this way. We think that they had a complaint which was insufficient to obtain a warrant. So they contrived this whole little charade to come in and search her property. The individual who was in charge of the raid, Sergeant Richard Hale, told her at one point in time that they had a sensor on the helicopter which detected the spectrum of marijuana. Because I think you can plainly see with all this overhang of cedar and so on, there isn't any way a helicopter even at 30 feet could have identified what these plants were. So we don't think that they even had probable cause to enter. They obviously didn't have probable cause for a warrant. But once they had identified this stuff here for whatever it is, but not marijuana, they should have left immediately. Everything they did beyond that point is inexcusable.
So once they found out it wasn't marijuana, you think they were still trying to vindicate themselves and look for something?
Yes, and we believe that they accepted a complaint for an individual that we have had numbers of people point to as the complainant, and that he stated not only did they have marijuana, but there are other drugs in the homes, blah, blah. So
and they searched the homes, nothing was found?
Absolutely nothing. If they had found as much as a tiny little residue of marijuana, I'm sure they would have thrown them all in jail.